Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Is it 10 years, 12 years?
12 years.
12 long years.
It's longer, but it's 12 years.
12 long years, but the results are here. You must be delighted to get to this moment, given that it's just taken so long for various different reasons.
It really is it's very humbling that we're here right now showing the film in the IMAX. So I'm like a nervous wreck. It's really surreal, as you would imagine, because normally I'm on the other side of the carpet, and now I'm here. So it's very surreal, but I'm very pleased that the film that we've toiled over for so long is finally being seen, for one, and we're we're here as well. So it's I'm very pleased.
This isn't your first soiree into this. You obviously worked on American Werewolf in London as well a few years ago. So is this something that you've always wanted to do, this kind of behind-the-scenes documentary, or did it just kind of fall that way as you were kind of going through film school and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it kind of did go that way. I remember watching DVD extras, when DVD extras were awesome. And I thought, God, I'd love to do that. And we kind of ventured out that way, and it didn't really happen. And then met Paul, who directed the Werewolf doc, and then that's where it all went. And then when you kind of sit and you do those interviews, and because it's amazing when you sit and do those interviews with people with your favourite films, it just opens up like a whole other world of how a film got made. And I just loved it, because we loved hearing stories. Our nan and our aunts would tell the stories of the war, so it's like that thing, and you hear these are your favourite films, and on this day he turned up drunk, that kind of thing, really. So it's all that kind of the tales, and so that's the fun part about all of these people.
Just saying to Claire, that Ghostbusters is, even though it's revered and loved by so many people, more that we've seen about it has been mainly kind of in-house stuff, and cater to the movie and selling the movie when there's some of the stories that we don't know. But it must have been great to go and see people like Richard Edlund and his workers, and even people like Alice Drummond and these people that we haven't really seen talk about the movie. That must have been a really fulfilling experience.
Yeah, it really was, because it's a lot of them, they either haven't been put on camera, or if they have been, they sometimes haven't used their interviews, which just kind of tends to happen. And we were very adamant, or at least I was, that when we did this version, or whatever cut that finally got released, even though this one's trimmed down and the longer one will come out next year, but that everyone we interviewed was in it, because everyone's given their time for us, for nothing. And in some cases, some of the interviews are kind of short, and some cases they went on for hours. And all of it, and the hardest part is trimming all that down into a coherent kind of story. But it was, a lot of this was paying homage to them, and not being so kind of flippant, and not walking away from it kind of 5 years ago when you're thinking, this is taking too long, I've had enough of this. It's that person did, that person's passed away now, so if we don't do it, no one's going to get to hear about what they actually had to say. And they were just genuinely lovely people, and they're just really fun. I mean, some things were off camera, which is a bit unfortunate in some cases, but every one of them were just when they welcome you in, and they just let it all out. Because some of them were at the point in their careers where it didn't really matter anymore. So it's I'll tell you whatever you like.
And you got to talk to so many people. I mean, obviously you didn't get Bill Murray, but he's as elusive to George Clooney, let alone you guys. And obviously Rick has his own life and everything else now. But it must have been great to sit down with these people. I mean, was there someone that you spoke to where you were surprised with what they had to say, or surprised that they gave you a story that you sort of went, wow, I really didn't know that, and it was great, must have been great for the doc?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of times that happened. I mean, Richard Edlund is actually being one of them, because we interviewed him with Terry Windell, who sadly passed away, I think about a year ago now. He was a lovely fellow, animated the Emperor's, get me words out right, did the lightning bolt to come out of the Emperor's fingers in Return of the Jedi. So he was telling us all about that, and nearly thinking he was going to get fired, because he thought he'd dropped a big secret that Vader was going to get killed. But it was so there's more Star Wars stuff, actually. I was telling you some cracking Star Wars things. But there was lots of things like that, and they were just there was this, there was that, there was I don't know if it's in this version. I think it's being the longer one. It's trimmed back, but when Stay Puft sets on fire, they actually had two people do it. And the first person seemed that he was apparently kind of afraid of fire. He'd never done it before, but he was kind of related to the stunt people, so he did it, and it just freaked him out. So, and it was just you've got to be delicate how you put that in, because if he sees it, he's like, what do you have? But it all works out quite well in the end, it turns out, and they got somebody else to kind of come in and do it. But it was all little gems like that. It's I've never heard that before. And so everyone had some kind of little, Annie Potts, tells a great story about Bill Murray and stuff. So it's not necessarily new that Bill could be a little bit awkward sometimes, but it's still kind of, to hear it from the horse's mouth, so to speak, it was always quite entertaining.
And I mean, obviously it has a special place in your heart, a special place in my heart, and many other people's hearts. What do you think it is about Ghostbusters? Because we've had a few TV series, cartoons. We've had Paul Feig's film, and now we're having Jason Reitman's film coming out next year. There's this great appetite for it for old audiences and new audiences. I mean, what do you think it is about this comedy, horror, sci-fi mix that Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis managed to bring together?
It's for me simply, it's just a really good film, and it's extremely well made. And when you kind of learn about the dynamics of like all the crew, you can see why it was a good film, and the way that the characters were handled, and that it's, even though it's this fanciful film, it actually feels very grounded. That gritty New York thing works really well, but you know, you got the comedy of the Ghostbusters, but then you got all the grounded sort of like the Walter Pecks and Mayor Lenny and all that kind of stuff, and they're just people that you could know, and that's what works with that. And then when I studied film like years later, I was like, I wonder what it is. Because I just loved it, and I wasn't very shallow about it basically. But then you sit and then you analyse it. It's because it's really well done. Like every beat of that film moves the story along, and it doesn't linger too long in any kind of like point, and it's actually a film that actually doesn't have a huge amount of special effects, even though you think it's a massive special effects film. There's only a few scenes in there that really has it, so it's like, that kind of works. It works fine because it's just a really good film, and I think it's just one of those. It was like the stars aligned. Everyone came together at the right point, and they made it. And it is what it is, and it's Ghostbusters. And thankfully, I was able to make a little documentary about it.
Just as a final question, and now that you've done this and you've made a couple, you've got the second part you're working on at the moment. Beyond that, have you got any ideas as to what you might do next? Is this something you want to continue doing, or making a feature film or whatever?
I definitely want to do more of them. I'd like to do some like narrative kind of features. That'll be kind of fun to do. But I definitely want to do more docs. Obviously, we've got 2 art downloads for this run up to this. There's another boss film I'm thinking about dipping my toe into. Doing some partnering up with some very fine people. So that's definitely in the works. We just want to, it'd be just nice when we finally, next year we can sign up, properly get into doing that one and announce it officially. But that one I'm really looking forward to doing, because it's another one of my sort of like favourites from back in the day, and classic kind of like 80s sci-fi. So, and a chance to interview Boss Film and Richard Edlund, who's bloody lovely.
Fantastic. I know you've timed it pretty well because the trailer's about to drop for the new one. Are you excited? Are you hesitant?
It's like they phoned me up and said, you know what, I've got a great idea. And I said, Ivan, I think that's a cracking idea. Step aside, Jason. Ivan, that's a really good idea. It was just, that's worked out very, very well. I've heard it's dropping, and I'm quite optimistic about it. We screened it first in Calgary, and they were just wrapping filming at the time. And there were a few kind of groups that kind of like have helped work on the film and stuff like that. And then you hear these things and you see some of the stuff that's kind of already been kind of leaked online and stuff. It's like, this looks like he's really hitting the nail right on the head. There's like fan service, but he's also creating a good film. And there's just like, from very brief snippets, because there's like NDAs and stuff like that. But for like the leaked stuff that you saw, it's like and the odd people who speak say, it's going to be a good film. So I'm Paul Ruddin as well, who's a legend.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yeah.
Nice.
Hey